Alrighty, so far in this series of electrochemistry videos, we've seen some electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, we've seen briefly cyclic voltammetry, and we've seen these measurements when they work, and we've seen them when they don't work. We've also gone through determining the sources of error, especially in terms of the reference electrode, and we've had a video describing kind of how to refresh or replenish a reference electrode if it's gone bad. In this video, in our quest to have good electrochemical measurements, we're going to talk about how to calibrate the Gamry. And so this is an important measurement if you were to, say, move your Gamry from one location to another, or it's fresh out of the box. This is something that you'd want to do to make sure that all of your measurements are appropriately tuned. And the calibration measurement in the Gamry typically functions by applying a subset of perturbations through the system and measuring kind of how the feedback to those perturbations look. And it adjusts filters within its internal circuitry to kind of match what its expectation should be, to say all that in slightly layman's terms. And what you need for all of this is really just your Gamry, the Gamry itself. You don't need the multiplexer. I can cover how to do the multiplexer in a different video, but for now we'll just talk about how to calibrate the Gamry itself. And so to do that, all you need is the Gamry, your computer, and you need this calibration cell. They should come with a calibration cell that should come with the Gamry if you use the Gamry. It's a 2 kilo ohm calibration cell. And so on this calibration cell, there's a socket for the green, the blue, the white, the orange, and the red pins, all of which are on the Gamry system itself right here. And so all you need to do is connect the pins onto this red dummy board. And you can do all of that here. Alright. So now we have our calibration cell set up. It's connected to the Gamry, like so. Our wires coming from the Gamry are connected directly to the 2 kilo ohm Gamry calibration cell. And we're looking right at our Gamry software. And so in our Gamry software, we can now go to Experiment, Utilities, and Calibrate Instrument. It'll ask us if we want to look at the this reference electrode, and if we want to look at this potentiostat, and if we want to calibrate the AC, the DC, or both types of current. And we have it selected to both, so we can go ahead and hit OK. It's asking us to connect a 2 kilo ohm calibration cell or a dummy cell, and so we can go ahead and hit OK to that. And then it's asking us one more time to make sure that the unit is warmed up, which in our case it is. So we can go ahead and hit OK, and it should begin to run that experiment now. And so now we're calibrating essentially the potentiostat and making sure that the Gamry will be ready to be used either because we moved it to a new location, or just because it has been a long time, or potentially there's discontinuities in your measurement stemming from just the system not being in equilibrium, or whatever the reason. It's always good practice to recalibrate your instrument every 6 months to a year anyways, just in case anything changes or there's drift in the system, or any possible reason really. It's just good practice to recalibrate on a pretty regular basis. And so this process is pretty independent, it's autonomous, it doesn't really require any input once we have it connected properly. And so we can just let this run until it finishes, which will take a few minutes, but alright, so it's been about 5 minutes and the calibration scan is now complete, and we get this little indication button that says calibration complete here. So we can go ahead and hit OK. And now something that I always like to do after calibrating is run a little experiment to make sure that our device data looks nice, like we would expect. So we're going to go ahead and run our electrochemical impedance spectroscopy and cyclic voltammetry on a contact to make sure that we see really clean and clear signals both in our CVs and in our EIS. So again, it's just asking us if we want to replace the data, which we do. We can go full screen and we'll start out with a cyclic voltammetry scan. So right now we're doing our measurements, like all of our measurements, in 1x phosphate buffered saline. This is a gold electrode contact, and this is the cyclic voltammetry scan. If you notice on the left side of the screen, the curve goes extremely negative at the very end, and that's normally because we're hitting the oxidation window of this particular material. But for our purposes, that's perfectly fine. That's more of a material property and has nothing to do with the device itself. And now we're looking at the electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, and we see the characteristic elbow in the impedance at high frequencies as it goes from resistive to a more capacitive phase throughout the low and mid-range frequencies. But by and large, that's a great sign that our calibration was completed and it worked well. So it's a great sign. Talk to y'all later.